How do you feel about permanently altering your body to fit in better with your friends or society? Body modification is actually a huge part of Starfinder, its society, adventurers. Not only is it part of adventuring society, it's also part of how cultures shape, as well as how they interact with one another, especially if one side likes modification and the other side doesn't. Great time for some conflict. It's also literally a section on your character sheet. And I don't mean to brag, but I have done a little bit of body modification myself. And if you thought anything other than a tattoo, congratulations, we can probably be friends, but that's not what I'm talking about. Get your mind out of the gutter. Technology serves three purposes, only two of which I'm going to talk about for the sake of this video, but they are as follows: personal expression, as well as assisting the disabled, and killing people. In this universe, body modification is so extensive that you have your general bodily maintenance. Everybody knows somebody who has had bad eyes and has had some kind of surgery to get new eyes or better sight. Some of the more vain will have beautified their skin, made it a little bit softer. Many others will have got some form of tattoo, and there is many variations of tattoos. Some of the more trendier folks, or the upscale visitors to Absalom Station, they will have gotten hollow tattoos. These move along the body, they can change shape, they're kinda neat. They can also be used as your communications unit or your comm unit. So tattoos are kinda cool. Part of the reason that augmentation or cybernetic enhancement has become so commonplace, especially in the Pact Worlds, is due to one group known as the Augmented. No need for natural male enhancement here, this is all robotics. The Augmented are the loudest and the most outspoken groups or advocates when it comes to body modification. As a newbie, if you were to talk to the Augmented, they would have a list for you. They would highlight all the pros and cons. They have all the documentation for the best shops to visit, as well as some of the seediest shops if you are a augmenter on a budget. When it comes to augmentation, it's not just cybernetics or robotic enhancement. There is also something called necrografts. These are exactly what they sound like. If you don't know what that sounds like, imagine Repo the Genetic Opera was a thing in Starfinder. And then imagine that the Eoxians, those surgeons, are the ones that lend you the body parts. Necrografts are undead prosthetics that can be attached to the body. Now, when we're talking about necrografts in a civilized society, they are generally frowned upon, but it's definitely a thing. There is an all-female gang of Augmented, and they are known as the Daughters of Eox. They are somewhat infamous as their white skull-like faces is a common graft that they use for their appearance. The civilized society, or those who are absolutely against necrografts, have really latched onto the Daughters as a symbol of this is why you shouldn't do something like this. Now, there are some other disturbed artists who practice a rather dark form of tattooing or body modification. These practitioners follow an ancient ritual called Kuthite, or they go with the classic Devourer scarification ritual. Now, if you could really help me out here, hitting the like button on this video will prevent me from going through a rather painful scarification ritual, so please hit that. And if you want to get more Starfinder videos from myself, then please hit subscribe with the bell notification. Or if you enjoy and want to support my work, I do have a Patreon in the description below. Now, what is the Kuthite practice, you ask? This is a very precise, very painful ritual. It's a form of tattoo, but the artist creates a rather detailed and intricate picture. They do this through forming hundreds of little cuts or lacerations to the skin to make this picture. And through this process, the client is hit with various chemicals to make sure that the picture stays, but what these chemicals do is they lock in that pain response. They make the body remember the pain of this event. And if you apply pressure in the right areas, you can relive this moment of being tattooed. So if you are a sadist, you might enjoy the Kuthite method. However, if you enjoy a different kind of pain, you may enjoy the Devourer scar ritual. This process is much messier than the Kuthite way, but the results, well, I guess they speak for themselves. A Devourer scar is textured. It's not just a picture cut into the skin that you get to relive by applying pressure. It is literally a deformation of the body. Each of the images from a Devourer scar is important to the worshipper who is receiving it, because generally only worshippers of the Devourer are going to get these. It is again done by lacerating the skin, but to make it textured and permanent, what happens is ash is ground into the wound to make it stay that way. Now here's a little interesting twist when it comes to the Devourer and his worshippers and their choice of expression. The Devourer does not like permanence. That includes body modification. So the cult of the Devourer, their churches or their cathedrals, whatever you want to call them, they have very advanced, very significant tattoo removal technology there. Just so anything that you do to your body does not always stay there. It's really a weird thing, as the Devourer is the god of entropy and just the end of all things. The Devourer isn't even really a physical presence. The Devourer is represented by black holes, supernovas, destruction. It is believed to have been formed at the creation of the universe. It is believed to have been formed at the very same instance that all creation just sort of popped into existence. Some also believe the Devourer to be a leftover or a remnant of a different civilization that went through its timeline, ended, and now we're in a new one, but the Devourer is the leftover thought of that previous civilization. And the Devourer seeks to end everything. It wants to unmake the natural plane. It wants to unravel space and time. At the end of it, not even the Devourer is supposed to remain, which if it was a leftover from a different civilization from a different timeline, that might explain why it's a little pissed that it still is in existence. The Devourer has no name other than calling it the Devourer. Like I said, it doesn't have a physical body, it doesn't have a spiritual presence, it is just an energy. It's not even really an energy, it's more of a universal force. It cannot be reasoned with, it cannot be delayed, and it cannot be halted. It also largely ignores the prayers of its very devout and faithful, which is kind of funny and ironic. Now, the Church of the Devourer, this is less a organization with a massive hierarchy and more a collection of little cults. And these cults are made up of crazy people, cannibals, nihilistic plotters, berserkers, as well as some ruthless Solarians. Now, if we come back to the lighter side of body modifications, Rune Stampers is a well-known company within the Pact Worlds. It has a growing franchise of personal engravers. Some of these engravers specialize in tattoos for the softer skinned. Some of their work even includes enchantments, although these are a little expensive. Absalom Station also has a very active tattoo community of hand tappers. All of them will use various tools, some coming from animals that they claim to have taken them from or bought them from out in space. Others will just simply use regular needle and a hammer or something to make the tapping. Engravings are also quite common with robots and androids who decided not to have the skin coverings. There's also a growing movement among the Shirin for those who like to get an engraving on their exoskeleton. These tattoos or these pictures will usually be some sort of important event for them. They will be a picture or a representation of something that is special or important to them. The Augmented will also consider this as a form of body modification, and while they do push a little bit more to the extreme, they don't mind something that's purely aesthetic. Even when it comes to the necrographs, they're not a big fan, but they tend to look the other way if they see some work being done. So who controls the trends when it comes to body modification? What is popular? What's in? What is not in? It's not the Augmented. In fact, it's actually celebrities who endorse a specific practice. Many of the augmentation studios, tattoo parlors, whatever it is that you're doing when it comes to Starfinder, specifically in the Pact Worlds, if you have a celebrity who has endorsed your brand, your tattoo shop, or a style, then your studio, your shop will basically be set for life. or at least until the trend dies out. Some of the more common places you can visit to get modifications or tattoos, they will have a video catalog for you to browse from. This is mostly for the newcomers and people who are just getting started when it comes to body modification, because if you want something that's a little more out there, you have to be in the know or know somebody who knows. The piercing space has a little bit of an underground following as well. These had much more of a visual aspect to them than an actual function, until recently, where a group of Ysoki have really advanced this into an art form. The Ysoki have really been taking their piercings seriously, and they've been advancing the space technologically. We're talking about piercings that can call a drone to you, or something that has an embedded tracker in it. Some of the more ambitious projects, and also people with more money to spare than brains, have tried to turn their piercings into a planetary-style comm unit. And let's not forget transforming some of these piercings into a weapon that can fire once, at least before needing to be reloaded. Deeper Than Skin is an Akatonian company who specializes in some of these Ysoki piercings. One particular area that they are known for is their cheek piercings for the Ysoki. What these piercings do is they allow a Ysoki to move things, with probably a little bit of practice, in and out of their cheek pouches, basically in and out of their mouth, without having to actually open their mouths. It's a little weird, it's a little cute when you think about it, but also weird. If you would like to learn a little bit more about Absalom and what life is like on the station, then please click here. Thank you to all of my patrons who have continued to support me through some of these challenging last couple of weeks. Your support has meant the absolute world to me. My name's Nathaniel. Thanks for stopping by, everyone.